They said they know where the hogs are.
Let's do it to it.
If he gets in close, I'm gonna see that big pig bleed.
You think we came out here to hunt hogs?
You killed my brother. My family's gonna make you pay.
Jake went to get his clan. We've got to get out of here fast.
We gotta get out of here!
Once upon a time, Raylee, Perkins, and I did this episode of R&R on creatures, and we were going to do this movie Pig Hunt, but she couldn't get her hands to it, and she got all worked up and excited about Pig Hunt, and we ended up doing the episode.
So excited.
So excited. And so we ended up doing the episode without it, but I promised her no one else would review Pig Hunt except for Raylee Perkins. And this is a double-edged sword because, well, now it's all been built up to you. So I was worried that maybe you would be disappointed by the actual reality of Pig Hunt as compared to what you may or may not have built up in your mind. So, Raylee, lovely it is to speak with you. What did you think of Pig Hunt, finally?
Well, I have to say, it wasn't at all what I was expecting. And I wouldn't actually classify it as a creature movie. Maybe? And so, maybe it was good that it wasn't on a creature movie.
It wasn't meant to be.
That we did together. I mean, there's definitely a creature in the movie.
Eventually.
Sometimes. At
Yeah.
that point, yes. But I wouldn't necessarily say that it's the focal point of the movie, maybe?
Well,
I don't know. What do you think? Would you classify it as a creature movie? Well, you did, because you put it on the creature list.
the movie classifies itself, I think, as a creature movie. It's called Pig Hunt. The cover is this big, huge wild boar with blood dripping off of its tusks. And
Yeah, that's why I'm excited.
And it opens with a guy being killed by this boar, but we don't see the boar. We just sort of see him screaming and yelling. So I would accuse the movie of false advertising. This is the movie's directed by the same guy who did a Canadian-made werewolf movie called Skinwalkers and cult classic Jason X, Jason in Space.
Really?
That's right. This was his last movie, and I think in a weird way his most professional movie. Like, well, I think that he takes his time with the characters, and the actors aren't necessarily bad, but the movie is a strange bunch of peaks and valleys for me. There'll be a scene that really works for me, and then there'll be a scene that either bores me or irritates me. And then there'll be a scene that really works for me, followed by a scene that's kind of boring, or like finding characters to latch onto was kind of tricky for this movie, and the slow crawl of the plot. It takes a full hour of this almost 98-minute movie for the movie to really kick in plot-wise. It really drags it out to quite a significant degree.
Well, and I felt like I was in three distinct movies. Like, that there are like kind of three separate ideas happening that eventually merge at the end, but I was like, what is, like, it took me a long time to be like, what is even, who are these people? What is happening?
Well,
and then when the friends are all dressed in like the army fatigue clothing, and then like you find out that they actually aren't like in the army at all, and I was like, I thought they were military. What do you mean they're not military? Like, they kind of preface themselves as these military army guys, but they really weren't. They were just like dressed in camo, basically.
Yeah, they like camouflage, they like playing with guns, they like being out in the bush.
The main character was an army guy.
Yes.
Like, the main hero. But the rest of his his friends weren't. They just dressed in army gear. And then, so I was just like, I think maybe that's why it took so long to get going, is because it was developing like three sort of distinct plot lines throughout the movie.
Well, main through plot, this group of friends is going to go boar hunting, and I don't find a lot of them super engaging. They're a little bit gung-ho, it's fairly stock character country here. But I'm not into that country vibe, and I don't like that they're hazing the girlfriend who's being dragged along, or it just
were dicks to her.
they were very much dicks to her, to the point where like I was having trouble, like, this is the group we're supposed to be cheering for, because then we have these hayseed characters, including Les Claypool of Primus, who also contributed to the soundtrack of this movie.
Makes sense.
And they're these like proud hill folk. It's not that they feel like these city folks think that they're better than they are. It's that they think that they're better than the city folks.
Yeah.
And then we have, I think, the least convincing and the worst acted wing of the film, the cultists living in the woods.
Hippie costume group.
Yeah, they have a big weed field out there in the woods, and they are giving sacrifices to this giant boar. And the sort of lead villain of that group and a lot of the girls, I don't know, I thought the execution was weak, as it so often is with cults. It's just a hard thing to sell realistically, and this is so extravagantly odd that it was just hard to take seriously. And yet, with all of these weird pieces, the movie is very straight-faced. Like, it's not a goofy horror movie. They're trying to get under your skin.
Laugh a lot, except I was laughing at the absurdity, but I wasn't supposed to be laughing. It wasn't slapsticky.
But it's weirdly watchable, right?
I enjoyed it. I always, and I've talked about this in your podcast before, I often will be like, who can I recommend this movie to? And there wasn't someone that I was like, I know, just the person who would want to watch this movie. But like, I found it oddly intriguing. Like, I wanted to watch. I wasn't bored. I wasn't like on the edge of my seat or anything, but I kept wanting to figure out what was going on and how these characters were all going to come together. And then some of the hillbilly scenes had like a real like Mad Max feel to them with the motorbikes. I mean, low budget Mad Max, but still Mad Max, you know? And I found those scenes really fun, like just like, I don't know, like fun to watch. But I didn't hate the movie. It wasn't a creature movie, which is what I was going in thinking.
That's right.
It was going to be.
False advertising, and I did call that out at the start of this, and I definitely do believe it to be guilty of that. But it's strangely well considered at times. Like, this is why I think like it's his best made movie. Early in the movie, they find this baby deer carcass in the woods, and they all sort of gather around it, and they have this top-down shot as they like first look at it and then walk away, and it's just this lonely carcass in the woods. Later in the movie, when arguably one of the only truly likable characters of the group, the innocent of the group, is murdered by the hillbillies, they repeat that shot again. They're all huddled around his body, and they all back away, and they do this top-down shot of our character. And I wasn't devastated by the moment necessarily, but it was handled really well.
And like with the dog, like I was very upset.
Oh yeah, of course the dog. Yeah. The horror movies always have to mess with the dog. And there are times where even the weakened areas of it sort of charm me. At the very beginning, we see this guy get killed by a pig. Well, we don't. We see him reacting to being mauled by this pig, and then blood slowly dripping onto the screen. And I smiled, and I'm like, they don't have the budget to show us the gore yet, so this is just a tactic to get us into the movie. So I was on their side. And then the scene's immediately followed by these two ridiculous hippie cult chicks riding together on a horse. Like, not prepared for, like, being in the forest at all. Like, nothing real about this scene. And so I laughed, but I was also sort of charmed by the goofiness of that as well. Like, I was cheering for the movie, I guess. On some level, because I wanted the movie to be good, lots of it worked for me. I think my big complaint is, as I've said, it takes too long to really get going. And, I think they should have leaned into the crazy and leaned into maybe the funny a little bit. I do think that the cult is absurd. I do think the hillfolk people are absurd. And I think that we could have at least laughed at our characters if they were making some kind of statement about their shitty behavior. But everything is played so straight that it sort of sucks a little bit of the fun that could be there.
And even at the gas station, when they have the first confrontation with the lead cult guy,
yeah,
and it was just the scene didn't do what it needed to do. It just felt like awkward. Like there was definitely they were trying to set up this tension and weirdness between the groups, and it was there, but they could have developed that scene so much more, and then it just ended, and you were like, what the hell? What the hell? So they kept saying through the whole thing, what the hell is going on here? Who are these people? What is happening? I did really love, though, that the one friend who's not a hunter at all, who's the owner of the dog.
Yeah.
I most sympathized with him.
Yeah.
He was and then when he runs on, he goes, I think I saw some mushrooms back. I think there were chanterelles back there. I was like, that would be me. I would be on this wild boar hunt with these violent people. Be like, I think I saw some lichen on this tree back here. I'm gonna go check it out. And leave. Make some nice coffee over the fire. That would totally be me in this movie.
No, they definitely try to make us sympathetic with that character. So they really set up the devastating moment that I was talking about. He actually. He tries not to be too judgmental of the hillfolk, and he does offer them coffee, and he is at least attempting to be warm with them.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, we have the culture clash between those two groups, which leads to a death, which leads to a blood vengeance from the hillfolk to be chasing them down. And then they run into the cult, and then, finally, we get to this giant pig. And there's a couple of shots where we see it full on big, but for the most part it's close up of the maw of this thing. It's a lot of setup to this, I think, decent enough payoff. I'm not saying that I didn't get my money's worth, but I don't know. Maybe they needed a different title or a different take or a different something.
Yeah, for a movie called Pig Hunt, there needs to be a lot more of pig hunting going on, not people hunting and other people,
But it gets suitably gory by that point, and a couple of characters who we've at least been following for a long time. It's not a quick thing. They're badly mauled and then left to sort of drip for a while, and then the boar comes back to feed some more. It's not a good thing that we're bearing witness to. And it's weirdly it's been violent before this point, but we had a strangely bloodless decapitation scene, and we had we had little bursts of violence, but the real viscera they saved for the big climax.
Yeah, and I mean that scene in the arena or whatever you want to call it at the cult.
Yeah,
it was a good scene with everybody kind of watching, and then they were who was gonna die. You kind of didn't know. I don't want to say tense, but I was apprehensive about how it was all going to play out at the end when it finally got to that point.
Well, and successful pig hunt, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, would watch again, you know? I am glad that we stuck to it and we kept putting this on and putting it on, and I was busy and you were busy, and we finally did it.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I got to talk about the movie and watch it, because I don't know if I would have had the opportunity otherwise.
True that, and I certainly don't want to necessarily oversell it. For every really strong scene, there's a kind of blah scene or even a kind of a bad scene. But the movie has this weird workable charm to it, and I do think that it more succeeds than fails. But I don't want to oversell it. We were excited for a different movie, but instead of rejecting the movie that we got, we accepted the movie that we got because we're disciplined film critics.
Very.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about Pig Hunt?
Nope, just glad I got the opportunity to finally talk about it.
Yeah, it opened with an M. Ward song. I'm a big M. Ward fan, so that warmed me to it. I don't know why I felt the need to shout that out, but I did. It's too late to change it now. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a specific meal, but for those of you who this sounds interesting, check it out.
Check it out.
If you can find it, because it seems to have vanished off the face of the planet.